just utilize accurately John's Roman context so that you don't
But Jesus never
format
say
his
it was for the
argument.
Romans. This is even a bogus claim. Oh, this is not a claim for the Romans.
I'm pretty sure he talks about Babylon, the whore, in Revelation 17, and sitting on the 7 hills. That's a Roman situation.
Robert, hang on. Let's first of all, Jesus never say he's going to come for the Goyim. Forget about the Romans, okay? The proper Gentiles. He is actually said to be the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So this John the unknown, writing a polemic literature, which is a Roman polemic.
Who is he writing to? The 7 churches, right? Where are the 7 churches located?
Where is Jesus Christ when he said, I was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, not the dog?
Where are the 7 churches located in chapters 2 and 3?
Why Jesus Christ called you dog for being going?
Where are the 7 churches located?
Brother, do you understand what the question at hand is?
Don't overtalk me.
You know what the question at hand is?
You may have admin control, but I can come close to the mic.
I know you can. Once you now answer the question.
So, do you want to act like an adult and maturely discuss the issue?
Actually, I was coming down to your level, brother.
Oh, is that so? Then that shows your immaturity if you want to come down to my level.
Obviously,
So thanks for exposing yourself to the room.
Thank you very much. I can't do the child's play. So, obviously,
because you are a child.
Okay, are we going to be condescending? I was actually coming down to your level.
I've never been condescending. You've been the one that's been condescending to every person in this room.
Brother, would you
ask Rob Speaker?
Rob, oh, mashallah, Sheikh Rob, okay. Who is the one that claimed that they were the only academic in the room, they're the only one who actually had probably authority, the scientist, and he was demeaning all of us earlier? Who is it?
Yeah, myself.
Oh, mashallah, now you've confessed. So you failed the basic test as an academic, you failed the basic test as a scientist, now we try testing you out in the Bible.
Oh really? While I'm the one making progress and you're sitting in the classroom doing nothing.
You're making progress where? Talking to me?
The square kilometer way.
Yeah, you what?
So I do real work in Australia and in conjunction with Hawaii and Europe doing black hole research. What do you do, Marty? I just sit around all day on Clubhouse trying to pontificate to random people.
In the meantime, as an African,
he's not
and he's bananas. Of course.
Is that who you are? Is that what you do with your spare time?
Up on a tree eating bananas. Don't you assume that as an African?
I think that's probably why Africa's backwards.
Oh, mashallah. Then you go down to the audience and I have to listen to something. I tell you how backwards we are. I have this power of control.
Leave this racist guy. Leave him. I just want to ask him about so many questions. One of them, what Jesus considered
is racist for you up?
Yeah, no, I want
I'll figure out for you.
No, he's just a Gentile dog, that's all. I mean, I want to talk to
him. That's why Africans are backwards. Obviously, that's again above your pay grade, because if I started interrogating, you're going to fail again.
The guy, see, this is the problem. This guy was actually...
If you represent Africa, then no wonder there's a low perception of Africa in Australia.
What is the perception, by the way, of Africans in Australia? Please tell us.
Because you don't allow people to have a mature dialogue and discussion.
Oh, the mature dialogue. I think that was happening between me and you failed dismally. Don't you think so, Robert?
You're the one not listening
to the
answers.
Apparently, you didn't know the basics of science. You claim to be an academic. What I'm saying. I know exactly what I'm doing with you. I told you that when you came up with your arrogant attitude.
Okay,
have a problem talking to you.
Mahdi. Let's have a discussion with Robert. Robert, what do you think about Paul's basically taking the penis of Timothy in his mouth in order to circumcise him? By the way, this is a Jewish circumcision. This is, Robert, very careful. I mean, if you want to understand, please look at Acts chapter 16 and how Paul confessed himself to be actually a gay man who left to circumcise other people, including Timothy.
Where specifically did Paul use his mouth?
I'll tell you. Okay, all right. Okay, just you want to know? Please, let me answer it to you. Okay. Well, it's of course, and I want to talk about
it. But if I allow you to explain, will you allow me to answer? Will it really have fair time? Will it give the fair time for response?
You ask me the questions. I want to talk. You asked me the question.
Yeah, but will you allow me fair time once again?
But you asked me the question, I want to talk.
Oh, only 1 minute. Oh, I
At
see.
least, no, you have at least.
I want to talk, Robert.
Yeah, no,
Right.
same son as
I'm begging. I'm the moderator, and I'm begging this guy to give me a chance. Well, of course.
Oh,
I want
thing.
to tell you, very poor. You know, this is the attitude of the Gentile dogs. Oh, listen. First of all, we know very well that the circumcision is something that's being taken in the Bible as a covenant, and it's actually in Genesis chapter 17. You know, that's something should be really taken serious as a part and parcel of the covenant given to the Israelites. The matter of the fact is,
Abraham, please.
Abraham, yeah. The point of the fact is, when Jesus actually was being circumcised, you know, he was circumcised in the Jewish traditions. According to Jewish traditions, basically, real until now, from the first century till now, it was basically involving cutting the penis and sucking the womb. This is called mohel, and a tradition carried out by the Jews till today. You can go and ask them about it, and you can observe it. So basically, that's the first thing that I want to mention, that Jesus himself had been sucked, according to Luke, but it's also the same time, this circumcision is carried out, when it's carried out by Jews, they do it when the child is 7 days old maximum, and they do it in the Sabbath, okay? So basically, when Jesus, of course we know very well that Jesus was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of whom? Israel, not even the Jews, house of Israel. And I do say two set separation between the Jews and the children of Israel. Those are the biological blood descendants of Jacob. And we consider everyone, not Jew, not Israelite, to be a dog. But that's not the point here. The point is basically is that when Jesus told the nations, told his disciples to go and baptize the nations, according to Matthew, basically he actually meant only the nations of Israel, because Israel was promised in Genesis chapter 35, 11 to I think it was Genesis, yeah, chapter 11, that he is going to be nation and nations will come from him. Okay, so basically
That's 17. Genesis 17.
No, he said, like, I think it's Genesis chapter 35. He said, oh Jacob, you're not going to be called Jacob, you're going to be Israel, and nations from you will come out from the loins. So basically, when Jesus says, go to the nations, this nation are only the Israelites, because what he says after that to his disciple, teach them everything I command you to do. What he actually commanded them, he's basically commanded them to go only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, but by telling them, do not go among the Gentiles, for I was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That was his mission. That's what he was saying to them in Matthew itself, when he told them, go to the nation and baptize them in the name of the Father and Son and the Holy Ghost. Basically, these nations doesn't mean anyone but the Israelites, because Israel was described to be nations. Anyway, I don't want to go there. But then we have Paul, and we know very well Paul wanted to convert the Gentiles, and he had a dispute with James, and with the other disciples said, listen, what you do, Jesus wasn't only for the all nations, it was only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, only the Israelites. This is his mission, only for the Israelites. But then he said, no, I'm going to let these Gentiles, this message is also for the Gentiles. So they just told him that if that's the case, then you know what you have to do. You have to circumcise them. You can't come into our covenant without being circumcised, these Gentiles. So he basically realized the problem. So he started with Timothy, and I don't know why he started with this man, or you can say young man named Timothy, who's his mother is a Jewish, but his father is a Greek. So he went to circumcise him. Guess what? That man was circumcised by Paul, according to the Jewish Acts. And that is actually in Acts chapter 16. You can read it here. So what exactly did he do with this guy? He cut the penis and sucked the wound, according to the Jewish ritual. It's being carried out till today. Okay? So we're done. We have to ask the questions. What would you describe Paul then, who did it this way? Oh, of course, many Christians said, oh, well, it doesn't say anything. It didn't say he took it in the last part. Jewish circumcision is there. Everyone talks about it. Everyone knows about this Jewish circumcision. That's why they do it on infants. They do it on 7 days old kids. not to someone who's at reached age of adulthood. But then he didn't do it only to him; he did it to others as well. He went to other Greek champion men to be circumcised, and they know that they love it. They actually really love it. The guy actually was taking it into his mouth. Until you couldn't take
Don't be too graphic, please. Don't be too graphic.
The guy couldn't take it anymore. And
Anyway, I know, but don't be too graphic, please.
we can't take it. He said, look, bro, it's nothing to do with the circumcision of the flesh. It's a circumcision of the heart. He invented this thing. Circumcision of what? The heart? Where you get this from, bro?
Do you blame him?
Nothing called it's not about the circumcision of the flesh. No, well, of course, he
shouldn't be going around circumcising Gentiles.
Well, not Gentiles, Greek Gentiles with all these schlongs, ready for him. You know the Greeks, when they actually...
Anyway, please don't get graphic. Move on.
You talk about Greek. He went Greek, this guy, by the way. He went Greek.
Anyway, don't be graphic, please.
Anyway, so then we have this guy come to us and talking about the pedophilia, and he doesn't know that he's prophet or his disciple, his apostle, which is Paul, the big deceiver. He himself turned out to be a gay man. I mean, that's why you got this reverend, whose name? What's the name of that reverend, Brother Mahdi? That evangelist reverend who turned out to be a homosexual.
There's quite a few of them. I can't remember.
That's the one we actually... He was a famous Republican evangelist American. It was just like... Anyway, this is... Ted Faggot. Yeah, Ted Faggot.
I'm sure his name is not Faggot. Come on, correct that. It's Haggard.
No, so Ted Faggot said it.
No.
It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. It is in the Bible. I love this guy, alright? The guy who put him in the History Channel, and he was like talking about the Antichrist, and so it's a business, bro. These evangelist Christians come to you with the cash, and they want a business, but they don't want to really preach you Christianity. Why? Because they know that this book, right from the top to bottom, is nothing but for the Israelites. When you call the book, when you say that Jesus was circumcised, I know how that happened. Jesus was circumcised in an age of an infant boy, and people suck the divine penis of your Lord. Can you see that? That's very graphic. This is the case. I'm not trying to be graphic. I'm not trying to be rude. But then we'll also talk about the pedophilia teachings in the Bible, and we can go ahead and more. I mean, I don't want to continue.
Okay, let's give Robert a fair chance. Don't open too many issues. That's one issue. Robert, try to answer him, hopefully in as equal time, but try not to exceed the 3.5 minutes if possible. And no foul language, please.
Oh, he spoke more than 3.5 minutes.
I'll give you 4 minutes, if you can. I'm sure you will.
Alright, thank you for being so gracious. So, the irony here is that the modern Jewish, and in this case rabbinic, practice of what's known as pariah, or another Hebrew word in this case would be the mitzitza, which is
mitzitza. It's also what it means, sucking.
Mitzitza. It means drawing.
Yeah, but try not to interrupt you. Robert, your time will start from the beginning because you were interrupted.
Oh, thank you. So that word that only occurs in the Talmud and does not occur in any intertestamental Second Temple period text demonstrates that once you have rabbinic Judaism post the destruction of the temple, because don't forget the Talmud starts to introduce a lot of laws, a lot of revisions, a lot of, basically reform. It's a type of reform Judaism. They don't have what used to be practiced, and that is Hellenistic circumcision. So the Romans and the Greeks, although Paul calls them the foreskin in Greek literally, or some Bible translations call it the uncircumcised. The circumcision practice goes all the way back to Egypt. And when the Israelites had to come out of Egypt, they had to be circumcised a second time. This is in Joshua 5, and the reason why that's the case is because Egyptian circumcision was half circumcision, but a Jewish circumcision was full circumcision. So, but the method of circumcision is such that they had medical tools that they utilize, and Jewish circumcision is not unique to Israel. Circumcision is already a vast ancient Near Eastern practice. The logic behind it is to do with identity of a race. So, if a woman came across an Egyptian male, she would know he's Egyptian not just by other means, whether it's language or looks, but also by his genitals. So if he had a half circumcision Egyptian form of circumcision, she'd know he's specifically Egyptian. So this is basically tribal allotment. And as far as sucking the penis goes, that is a very, very late invention. That has no association in the intertestamental period method of circumcision. So Jesus was not sucked upon on the 8th day. Paul did not suck on Timothy's penis when he got circumcised, any more than Moses' son, when he was circumcised by Zipporah, his wife, would have sucked on Moses' son, which is just ridiculous. So you need to demonstrate, if you're going to assert that this is part of circumcision ritual, you need to demonstrate that the Egyptians were sucking on penises, the Romans were sucking on penises, the Greeks were sucking on penises, and the Jews were sucking on penises for like the last, say, 3,000 to 4,000 years.
You have at least 30 seconds left, if not a minute. Do you need music?
No, I'm all good.
Okay, Yahoo, do you want to respond?
Yeah, go for it.
Yahoo, are you there? You first, I didn't want to talk about using the P word and so on. I would love to, but Yahoo, I'm sure the way you respond to it, say, well,
do you want me to use cock?
Brother, there are ladies in the stage, please. Let's try to be respectful. Okay? So, nonetheless, as I understand, you said I don't personally like to use it. I'm not saying you use it wrongly. But in any case, I'm sure the Egyptians won't defend you and the Romans later covers, so we won't defend you either. But, you can engage with Yahoo later when he comes back. I personally don't like to talk about that subject, but I do recognize the point that circumcision, which is the sign of the covenant, is in the flesh, not in the heart. That's as announced for the Abrahamic covenant, which is an interesting covenant at that. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it, but Paul to me was a very dubious character. I don't think he was an apostle of anyone other than maybe dark forces. But we'll move on. Abdullah, we'll come back to you, Robert, in a moment. If you want to add some more, you can. Abdullah, I haven't heard from you for a while. Do you want to say anything?
No, I'm just busy now, so maybe I'll direct later, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay, Robert, just a slightly wider subject until maybe Yahoo gets back anyway if he wants to.
No, I'm back again, but anyway.
Okay.
I'm sorry, again, these Talmudic teachings, this actually is not something came in later on after the Bible. It's actually an ancient traditions, okay, and basically so based on rabbinical teaching is based on that Talmudic teaching. But in general, this is the quiet practice done by the Jewish followers of this religion. And since you believe that Jesus was a Jew, and I don't believe that, by the way, but if you believe so, he has to be, when he has to be circumcised, I don't think he's being circumcised according to the Ishmaelite traditions. I don't think so. Or Egyptian traditions. No. According to the Jewish tradition, which is involved the Masasa, or we call it as in, bastardized Hebrew language, the one which is mixed with the Germanic Yiddish, Matsasa or Matsusa. This is the issue. So you have a Paul here. When you've done it, He didn't do it into an infant boy who was 7 years old. No, he did it to a real man, complete young man, a guy who is ready for this. He could have an intimacy with Timothy. That could be the case. It could be. Because then when it comes to Titus, I believe, was a Roman soldier, and that guy came to him and said, okay, I want to do the same thing to you. I want you to do the same thing to me as you did with Timothy. He said, no, I don't want to. I mean, it's no longer the circumcision of the flesh. It's a circumcision of how you feel. Anyway, we realized it. We just realized that this guy is nothing but a homosexual. And Ted Haggard got he got his idea. Where why we have so many reverends and so many guys like him trying to practice something which is biblical. Don't worry, brother. Maybe in the future they will accept it. Okay, right now homosexuality is accepted in the Western world, so why not? Maybe in the future pedophilia as well is going to be accepted, because it's all from the Bible.
Anyway, we'll give Robert a fair chance and then maybe switch the subject. It's too graphic. Robert, do you want to respond to that, or?
Yeah, all I need is a secondary source that demonstrates a specific time that they practiced the sucking of a penis during circumcision. I want you to demonstrate to me the Greeks practiced it, the Romans practiced it, the Egyptians practiced it, and the Second Temple Hellenists
I want you also to demonstrate
prior to the Talmud.
Do the Jews do it? Yes, they are doing it. Until now, they're sucking it.
The origin of the practice was not taking place during the Second Temple period. Full stop.
Well, it's still doing it till now. You have to prove to me that this.
The Jews, the rabbinic Jews of today, are not the Second Temple Jews 2,000 years ago.
They are still doing it from the time.
The origin of the practice is new.
It's carried out by Paul, all right? Because it's the case is.
You need to demonstrate that Second Temple Jews practiced that.
You need to demonstrate to me that.
What is the earliest reference? What is the earliest reference to the Mitzvah?
Matsasa. Yes, it's a Talmud.
What is the earliest reference?
Yeah, the Talmud.
What is... Okay, when was the Talmud written?
Yeah, 200 BC.
200 BC?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The Talmud was written 200 BC?
Yeah. They even mentioned that.
Oh, God. Okay. Really? What scholar? Can you point me to a scholar that says the Talmud
Google it.
200 BC?
Yeah, it's 100. At the time of the first century, was that what the Talmud was there? Okay.
The Talmud.
You're coming to me. Now you're coming to me. Okay, you're coming to me. And
so during the Maccabean era, when Antiochus Epiphanes was reigning, you have Jews writing.
There's a Babylonian Talmud. Listen, brother. There's a Babylonian Talmud.
The Babylonian Talmud is not dated to 200 BC.
Okay, and there is a Jerusalem Talmud. Definitely.
Yeah, they're not dated.
So definitely, if you look into the, just read it. I just posted there.
I'm going to bring up, Jacob Musa. He's like an authority on the Talmud. So let's see, translation and commentary of both the Babylonian and Jerusalem. Here we go. Preface. Let's see here. A Talmud is formed by a low code and a discursive commentary to an extension of that code. There are two Talmuds. Both are constructed on the same low code, the Mishnah, which was compiled circa 200 CE. The earlier of these is the Talmud of the land of Israel, also called the Jerusalem Talmud, and commonly referred to as the Yerushalayim, which was completed circa 400 CE. The latter of the two is the Talmud of Babylonia, also called the Babylonian Talmud, and as Bavli, which was completed 600 CE. Oh my goodness. The Babylonian Talmud dates 600 years after Christ,
Finished?
and that's the first mention of...
Completed? So when did it start? When did it start?
When was the Mishnah written?
Yep, I'm talking finished, compiled. You know,
Yeah,
do you know
the Talmud based on the Mishnah.
You know the
So
Septuagint
when
Bible.
was
Hold on, wait,
when was the Mishnah completed?
Okay, do you know that the Septuagint? Do you know that the
Even the people in the room chat are horrified at your declaration. They're all laughing.
The Bible itself was compiled in 1080 AD.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bible itself.
The Bible will have
The Leningrad Codex has nothing to do with the
100
Talmud.
BC. It's 100 AC. You know that? It's 100 AD. It's 10. The 10th century. Does that mean that there is no Bible before that? I'm not saying when it was compiled.
You're talking about
a compilation of the
talking about
Bible.
your claim that the Talmud is 200 BC,
It's under 1,000 years
which is
old.
absolutely ridiculous.
Anyway, Robert, can I ask you a question if you don't mind? Yeah. If you don't mind, just a slight diversion of the subject.
Oh yeah, I know.
No, just slight. You
It's
don't have
always
to
a
ask.
slight diversion when
You don't have
there's
to ask.
refutations of your argumentations.
No, brother, I wasn't making the argument, but the Bible was compiled around 1080 AD. But anyway, that's another
Okay,
point.
yeah, you believe what you want to believe. It's okay.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. But just a slightly different note, a slightly deeper question. You don't have to answer it. Why do you take the Bible to be God inspired or the God of word or otherwise? Why do you believe in this document as having something to do with the divine, and you don't really accept the Quran to be a divine document? Why? Just give us the argumentation. I just want to understand. I'm not attacking you, by the way. I just want to understand the reasoning that you deploy for accepting the Bible to have some divine, call it signature or essence or inspiration, or to be the divine word, whereas you reject this for the Quran, apparently.
Yeah, I find that the Quran. The reason why I reject the Quran is because the Quran is
the
nothing but.
first one of the Bible, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I'll explain. I was genuinely an atheist before I became a Christian in 2015. My journey into Christianity was due to an experience at a funeral with respect to my opa, and I asked the question: if God exists, what is the most efficient means He can reveal Himself? And I realized that, well, in this case, I hypothesized, to use a more scientific terminology. I hypothesize that for God to efficiently showcase Himself, He has to reveal Himself within this reality somehow. The key word there is somehow. And then I also realized that if He were to hypothetically reveal Himself, kind of like the equivalent of the pink elephant in the room, over time that would become a very common thing. That would not be... it would be glorious initially, but over time it would wane away. So, I then hypothesized a second question. If He were to enter into our reality, then surely He can do something with His presence in this reality. And so, since I have an issue with the chaos-conf nature of this reality, death and suffering and entropy and so on, the struggle with chaos, I hypothesize that for Him to solve the chaos-conf problem, He joins in hypostasis His divine nature with this reality, and then resurrects it and completes it and causes what the early church called theosis, or glorification, to this reality, to overcome death and the grave. And so then, when I looked at all the religions, Hinduism didn't appeal to me because you have many of the avatars that don't incarnate and are never in hypostasis with this reality. The Quran and Islam never appealed to me because Allah never has any form of kenosis, and then He never causes theosis to this reality. Plus the Quran is a mishmash of a lot of the apocryphal Gnostic literature. But the biblical account has an epic narrative that coincides not only with natural history of, say, the last 13.8 billion years, but it also coincides with natural history of the human race 200,000 years ago from Africa into the Persian Gulf, and then the religious setting of the ancient Near East with respect to Israel, and then finally up to Jesus, and the happenings that took place that fit the model I was proposing, and that is, He's the incarnate Logos that is in hypostasis with this reality and causes resurrection.
Okay, interesting points. So that was giving you an opportunity to sell yourself, or rather Christianity, which and also to understand, you're not trying to challenge you, but if we could backtrack again. so that we could get some of these points kind of more solidified. So, if you could summarize,
And none of that includes sucking on penises, by the way.
brother, I don't like to go into that subject.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to answer him about the Talmud. No, listen.
Give a quick answer so we could go to
A quick answer. First of all, I don't know Paul if you know very well, for sure that he had took the penis of Timothy. That's the first thing. He held his penis, touched it. Okay? This is itself an act of, well, I don't know. But the thing we're talking about, but it's sucking. It does not involve sucking. How you get that sucking? Well, you have it here, and I think we should talk about it. You should read the articles. I will show it to you. It's actually something which is being carried out in the second, after the second temple, or actually during the second temple, the Jewish temple. But this is basically the tradition was taken by the Jews, involving sucking the penis. It's nothing actually, it's not been invented later on. But right now you said, but the Bible, I mean, you said that the Talmud is actually written 300 years after the 300 AD. Well, exactly, yes, that's true. But the tradition, that was when it was compiled. It was compiled by them. I'm not talking about compiled. I'm taking when it was start writing it. Not only writing it, that these traditions, are they not being practiced in the first century? No, they were being practiced during the first century. So this is basically something you should know, that these traditions were doing it during the first century AD. During the circumcision, the Brit Millah is there. You can Google it.
Stop the nonsense. The Talmud was compiled in 600 AD. That's the first occurrence of the word.
The compilation doesn't mean compilation doesn't mean that it basically started from them.
The first occurrence.
The Bible you have.
Practice.
Okay, hold on. The Bible.
600 years after.
Hold on. The Bible. No, not at all. It's actually during the time of Jesus. And if you said compilation, well, the Bible itself being compiled completely. That Bible that's called Masoretic Bible is being compiled in 10 AD century. Okay, 10 AD. You see the Bible you have is
1080, 1080, not 1080, 1080.
No, all the meant 1080. You meant 1080.
All the
brain is overheating. He meant 1080.
Okay.
It's 1080
AD. Okay. So basically, that means nothing. Okay, so basically we go back again to this circumcision.
You know, but this argumentation is so petty.
Yeah, we could leave. We'll just leave.
Wait.
Absolutely hilarious.
We'll come to that.
No, it is for you. It is for you. You will not more better grand now. It is for you. Hold. I will just kind of continue. So basically,
please give it to me when I'm absolutely delirious and I don't know what I'm thinking and doing.
Okay, that's your opinion. So basically, when you say that this practice
my opinion.
is not, if you're saying that this practice is not carried out in the first century AD, that's wrong. That's actually saying that's wrong. Brit Millah is there. It's carried out during the second temple. Okay, that was how the traditions was carried out. And the history says this. The Talmud confirmed that, and you have it. So Paul did it. Okay, that's the first thing. When was the Talmud being completely compiled? Doesn't mean that things are being practiced in the first century AD. Okay, that's not the case, because this things being practiced in the time of the first century AD. That's the history of the Talmud
over time.
Okay, so if you say no, that's not the case.
The sucking. Where does this text, this Wikipedia page, speak about sucking the penis?
Read it. Yeah, read it.
Reference.
So read it. I was going to read it for you. Just read it all.
Reference the paragraph.
I'll reference it to you that this thing's being taken in the time of the 1st century AD. That's number one. That's my first point. That the Brit Millah is there.
Okay.
It's there. It's there in the 1st century. You cannot deny that.
Give me some keywords.
You just read it. I'm not going to give you keywords. It's taken in the 1st century AD. That's the first thing, okay? And it says this. The original versions in the Judaic history was either ritualistic or cut down by the father to the part of the first king that overhang the ground. This form of genital licking or cutting, known as a simply millah, became adopted among Jews by the Second Temple period and was predominant from until the 2nd century CE. So these things was taken into consideration until the 2nd century ED, according to Wikipedia. Or what I'm trying to say, you can reference it, you can see it, that these things being taken. And when you read how the circumcision is being done, displayed millah and mohel, you can understand that yes, that circumcision, other circumcision, was done by Paul. I can say anything. Acts chapter 16. Also, I want to mention something more to you. It's not only happening then, it was also carried out by Jews till this day. Okay? Especially the Orthodox Jews. Now, if you deny it and you say that's not being taken, that's something which is becoming 200 CE or 300 after Jesus, well, that's something you are referring to the compilation of the Talmud, when the Talmud has been completely compiled. There's nothing to do with when was the Talmud being written. It's when that
You're talking about the mohel, right?
Okay.
The circumciser is a Jew. The mohel is a Jew trained in the practice of Brit Milah, right? The covenant of circumcising.
Look. So this is the first thing. Now.
Okay. So wait.
I have a problem.
So I've just done the wiki link in the group chat outside. Here's a copy and paste that says this. I'm going to read it out. That noun mohel, or mahala in Aramaic, meaning circumciser, is derived from the same verb stem as milah, circumcision. The noun appeared for the first time in the 4th century AD as the title of a circumciser. This has nothing, they weren't practicing sucking penises.
It wasn't carried out? Well, I have said that. No, it's all. It says that
it was carried out later in Talmudic times.
Where does it say that? Show me the
because the noun appears for the first time.
It's not about the noun, it's about the practice. I'm talking about the practice.
The noun is based on the practice.
I'm talking about the practice, not at all. That's all. I'm talking about the practice.
So they had no noun to describe the practice up until the 4th century?
Well, sorry, you didn't understand it.
That's quite a remarkable statement.
Well, listen, that's you've got it in you've got it in Wikipedia, that this practice is carried out in the 1st century.
You gave me the Wikipedia link. I just got it up.
Okay, I don't think this guy wants to continue.
I just put it in the
himself. Well, you said that when this practice been happening, and I told you it started during the second temple, and it says that.
You want to know how the noun appeared for the first time in the 4th century. 4th century AD is not Second Temple. Second Temple ended in the 1st century.
Now listen, you got to tell me about the terminology. I'm not talking about terminology, I'm talking about the practice. For example, the word namaz. Okay, hold on, Robert. You know that the word namaz, this is mean prayer, is not being coined until you can say 18th century. But before that, we don't use to call it namaz. Many ancient Jews call it salah. So it's not I'm talking about terminologies here. I'm talking about the practice. Okay? That practice is carried out there. You just read it, and I don't want to go further for that. If you have proof otherwise, okay, that's a very big problem. You just have to prove to me. Do you want to tell me that Paul didn't hold Timothy's dick and cut it? Do you want to tell me that this nothing happened? Then I'm going to hold his dick. This is itself an act of homosexuality. We're talking about other circumcision here, brother.
Okay, I'm going to quote from a Jewish website. Directly from them. And this is what they say. Are you ready?
Please have the final exchange each, so you can go back to some of the points.
Okay, this is the final statement. The metzitza, which literally means oral suction, is first mentioned in the Babylonian Talmud in Tractate Shabbos, which dates back to the 4th century AD.
When was it being practiced? When was it being practiced?
Says that Mohel, who doesn't do mitzvah, is risking a baby's life arguing it somehow prevents infections. So the first occurrence and practice took place 400 years after Jesus. Thank you very much. Take it and go.
No, I'm not going to go. I'm going to stick to it.
And
no, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to read it. No, I'm going to read it, and I'll show you how your point is nothing but homosexual. I'm going to read it. You can send it to me.
And go.
I'm not going to take it.
Take it and go.
I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it for this guy.
And
I'm going to read it, and I'm going to prove it. Listen.
Take it and go.
I'm going to the link. I'm going to get with it. I'm going to read. Mahdi.
And go.
Mahdi, I'm going to read it and see how this guy is.
Robert, let's see how we have a final response if we want to read, and then we'll go to some of the points made earlier, slightly earlier, regarding why you believe in the Bible, etc. So let Yahoo respond to you. You gave a response, so let him respond to you, and then we disclose this subject, and then the audience can make up their own opinions. Go ahead, Yahoo.
Oh, I'm just looking for the text. I'm just going to read it for him because this guy is actually cut and pasted sentence. He's talking about first time being mentioned in the Talmud, which he doesn't want to say that this thing is being practiced then at that time. Why? Because he doesn't want to show this is Christian way of doing things. Okay? But I'm just going to read it to you that this thing is being carried out.
Take it and go.
I'll get back to you.
Let him just read the passage for me as well. You want to tell us? I find this quite interesting what you mentioned as to why you believe in the Bible. Now we're going to break it into layman's terms. I'm just curious. I'm not trying to attack your belief in the Bible. I'm also curious as to why you didn't believe in the Quran. So if you could just summarize those points in simple language for the audience so that they can understand.
Well, I'll give one example that no Muslim has been able to answer me with respect to the reason why I don't believe in the Quran.
Okay, give it example.
So, when you have the story of Abraham saved from the fire of the Chaldeans, that actually comes from a mistranslation of all the Chaldeans. Like, there were Jews.
You had an experience, interesting. You could articulate that later if that was the main linchpin as to why you became a Christian and why you didn't believe the Bible to be the biblical word.
Yeah, I think you did get him to say some crazy stuff, but it was in a very kind of sedate vibe, you know. I just don't think it would be very interesting to listen.
Jovan was so docile that he got invited to Matt Slick's Bible study.
And he's never going to live that down.
It's a very exclusive club. He's never invited an atheist before.
Matt Slick was like, "You're amazing, you're so polite, and you ask really good questions."
Wait, I thought, wait, is he not the one that says I don't do Bible studies with atheists?
I mean, he might have said it, but that's not his, thing.
What do you mean, the one? There's, dozens.
That's true.
That's true, Tom.
I think it was popularized by Satan Brugengate.
I think that's what I'm thinking of, Haiti.
The others obviously say it too, but they sort of say it like...
They love to say it when they get in trouble.
It's like Darth's troll list. You're on the troll list until he thinks you did something stupid. Then you're off the troll list for a moment.
I have my interview today, and I'm nervous, even though it's a stupid job at a grocery store.
It reminds me of the Family Guy clip where Lois applies for a grocery store job. Have you?
I don't think so.
Well, he's just asking her all the things like, so what is it that you want? Like, what do you expect from us here at this job? And she's just like, groceries, like to every question he's asking. How do you think you're going to be able to succeed here? And she's just like, groceries.
Are you quitting the post office?
It depends on if I can get a comparable wage somewhere else. But even if it's not as good, if it's close, then yes, because I don't like working 12-hour shifts 6 days a week. I did not sign up for that. And I don't get paid for 12 hours. I only get paid for 8.5.
Are you salaried?
No, it's evaluated rate for each route. So each route is evaluated differently, and they assign you to a different one every day. And if you finish within the evaluated rate, then you get paid that evaluated rate. So if it's evaluated 8.5 hours, then you finish in 6, you get paid for 8.5 hours. But that means that if you take 12 or 13 hours to finish, then you only get paid for 8.5. And they have no sliding scale for volume, because clearly right now in the peak season of Christmas, we are doing a larger volume than normal, so you cannot finish an evaluated time. You just can't.
Damn. Sorry, that sucks.
Part of it is that they're understaffed. If they had enough staff, then it wouldn't be a problem, because they can send people to help you, but we don't have anybody to help.
Is
so
this USPS or is this UPS or one of the others?
USPS.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the USPS has been suffering for a while due to negligent politics, in my opinion. But that's on purpose as well. I'm not going to get political in here.
What's the grocery store job? Is it checkout or something at the bakery or?
I applied for the assistant manager for customer service desk and some sort of admin office job.
Oh.
And then also it's like the fancy hoity-toity grocery store. So they have a really large home goods section that's very highly decorative and stuff. And so I also applied to that.
Sounds nice.
My brother-in-law works at a different branch. It's a local company, but he works at a different branch and has worked there for 5 or 6 years. And the guy who's hiring me hired him. So I'm hoping that will help.
Oh, for sure.
Because I always do really poorly in interviews. So.
Yeah, but if he knows your brother-in-law, he knows you're not a serial killer.
Well, part of it made me worried a little bit to mention it because my husband has 3 brothers, and my husband and the next 2 are totally fine, acceptable people that are nice and follow along with everyone else's political views and everything. And then the last one is awful, like a terrible human being, Trumpster, refusing to get vaccines, and that's the one that works at the grocery store. And so I was nervous that they were going to be like, oh,
I hate that guy.
But he seemed to think he was okay, so maybe he has a different personality at work.
Is that guy not invited to
Keeps it
Thanksgiving?
together. What?
Was that guy not invited to Thanksgiving?
Oh,
we did an ultimatum that he had to get a vaccine in order to come to Thanksgiving, so he did.
Oh, that's good.
He couldn't give up the mashed potatoes, I guess.
He might have saved his life.
Yeah.
Poor Detroit got COVID. He sounded like terrible.
Yeah, he did.
Hmm.
Is he doing better?
Yeah, he did. He is. Well, that's today, Jane, the interview?
Yeah, 10:30 Central Time. Part of the reason I got the postal job is that they did not interview me. I still can't believe their hiring process. It's baffling. You go online and fill out the application, which is all like an internal website, so they don't explain what the job roles are. Like you just apply based on the title and they don't explain what it is at all. So then you apply to that, and then you have to do a bunch of like assessments online that take hours and hours. I think it took like 3 hours to do all the assessments. And then if you pass the assessments, they send you an email saying you've been approved or whatever, and if you accept, you have 48 hours to accept the job post. And no one's talked to you, no one's explained anything, they don't tell you how much you get paid or any of the structure of the job at all, and you have to accept it. And then once you accept it, they send you to training for a week where it's run by someone who has no clue what your specific job is like, because it's like an admin person that's never been a carrier. So they can't answer any of your questions. And then you go to Carrier Academy where they're supposed to explain the job to you, but it's really just like explaining the differences in classes of mail and following the rules for how to deliver things and what to do when you can't deliver a certified mail and all that stuff. So they explain all that to you, and you don't know enough to ask pertinent questions. And then you go to your post and you start getting trained, and it's so busy, and there's no one to ask any questions to, and again, you don't know what to ask by this point. And so there's no interview. They just pull you in.
Well, what happens if you've been, like, arrested for mail fraud?
Well, they do a background check before they pull you in. So there's that much. I had to go in and get fingerprinted.
It reminds me, I feel like I remember reading about this USPS worker that, I forget what they were stealing. They were stealing some kind of, like, political thing out of someone's mail.
Ooh, that's a bad...
They were a Trumper, and they were just, like, doing that for some reason, and they got caught and obviously, like, arrested and fired.
They got so over the top with the political mailing this last election cycle that we couldn't... So if we get third-class mail that you don't forward third-class mail, so if it's a third-class mail and it should be forwarded, but it's like as if it were first class, but you can't because it's third, you put it in this bin that's essentially garbage, but specifically for mail. Like no other garbage goes in there because they go through it to make sure that it can't be forwarded, and then I think they shred them somehow, or I don't know. And so we were putting the political mailers in there, but they were making too many mistakes, I guess, and the political mail is different. You can really be penalized for doing it wrong, and so they made us do them separately, and we had to endorse them as to why we couldn't forward them, and we had to put our initials and the date, and we had to put them in a special bin in the front of the office where they would go through them every day. It's a big deal.
When I write return to sender, now at this address, do they actually do it? Because I've been getting mail for the previous owners for like years.
If it's first class, then we do. But if it's not first class, then no. Unless it's unless it says like electronic endorsement or something, or return service requested, then we have to do it.
Okay. This is from financial institutions, though.
Yeah. So we probably
presumably first class.
I hate it when people do that, because a lot of the junk mail will have like a person's name and then underneath it say or current resident. So we are allowed to deliver it even though we know that person doesn't live there anymore because it says current resident, and then the person who lives there gets really mad and highlights the wrong person's name and circles it and puts a bunch of expletives and stuff on the thing, and it's like, yeah, but it says or current resident. We're supposed to...
You know, it's too bad because like I hate getting the mail now because it's always like, it's just usually bad news, right? It's never, the good news comes in other mediums, but the mail is usually either bills or some sort of problem. And I hate junk mail and the whole thing.
Yeah.
I sort the mail out at my mailbox, and the junk just goes straight into the recycling.
It's such a waste. It makes me...
It's such a terrible waste. Like, they should just, like, ban it, right? Or at least... Can't you, when you probably know you can opt out, right? Why don't you just say to the post office, never ever deliver mail that's not addressed to me, like everything has to go. Well, I mean, the junk mail. But I guess they take the money, so they're not going to...
Yeah. When was the last time anyone bought something out of a catalog? That's what I want to know. That's ridiculous. Nobody buys shit out of catalogs.
Yeah.
I get those letters from like dealerships with the fake key like taped on.
Oh, it's all like credit card offers, life insurance, grocery store stuff. What else is it? Obviously the political stuff. Restoration Hardware sends me literally 100-page catalog that's more like a book. It's insane. To master it, throw it out immediately.
I actually just moved recently, and we have like a pile of mail from like several different that are supposed to go to whoever lived here before, but like we have no idea what to do with it. I was like, do we just throw it away? Like, I don't know what to do with it.
Well, do you have you don't have a forwarding address for them?
No, I don't even know who they are. We never met them or anything.
I missed the first part. You said the person who lived there before.
Yeah, we have this pile of mail. We've just moved like 4 weeks ago. Now we have this pile of mail.
Yeah, just put forward FWD to the left of the address, your address, because the forward for the person who lived there before you should be in effect for 18 months. So if you only moved 4 weeks ago, it should be effective that they would forward it. So just stick it all together and put it in the box.
Oh, like the USPS will have their forward address if they did it right.
Mm-hmm.
If they told them.
Yeah, well, if they didn't, then it's still the UPS people will just throw it away, and then you don't have to deal with it.
That's a good idea.
Oh, I like that. If I feel like there's something good.
I won't tell anybody.
I just, like, it was delivered to me, right? That makes it legal? I don't know what the rules.
No, you can't open someone else's mail, right?
I don't know.
Law? I thought that was law.
Yeah.
But like, who's gonna know that Daly opened a coupon packet addressed to someone?
Who's gonna know if he goes 20 miles over the speed
limit?
Actually, no, I'm not a check. I don't want to go to, prison for check fraud.
Yep. Dude, that's like the one thing. It's like, yeah, you could easily get away with it, but the one time you don't, that's federal.
And I think checks are automatic felonies, unlike cash. Like, if you were to steal less than $1,000 in cash, it's a misdemeanor, but I'm pretty sure check fraud is automatic felony. Could be a penny. So anyway, Matt's not engaging us today. I guess he's scared of Tom's argument.
That's it.
Naturally.
Tom, have you tried debating Darth recently in PNR? Or do you think he would boot you immediately?
Do you think they would?
Do I think he would?
Wait, start over?
Well, hasn't he been running a room in PNR?
I don't know what you're talking about. Who?
Darth.
Oh, what about him?
Ding dong. I was just wondering if you had tried to go in there to lay any arguments on him.
Oh, God, no.
You'd just be silenced immediately, right? I assume, or banned, or whatever.
Yeah.
Gene, I feel like your experience could vary depending on like where you work for the USPS, because I feel like a lady near us just retired in the old neighborhood we lived in, and I don't know, her Christmas stuff, like during Christmas we would like
says that his words can't be altered or corrupted, chapter 18 verse 27 of the Quran, and even in the context of previous scripture, Allah says his words can't be altered or changed, chapter 6 verse 114 to 115 of the Quran. So we have this God that lays claim to the Torah and the gospel, orders people to use it in the 7th century, and promises his words can't be altered or corrupted, and Muslims tell us every day the words were altered and corrupted.
Okay.
There's a problem there.
Okay, so let me highlight. Okay, the problem either is in somebody's head or is in the text. We'll explore both. So first and foremost, again, repetition. And then we'll get back to the last point you mentioned. We'll even read the verse if you want. First point, the Quran is not addressing you at all. It's addressing Israelites. So in terms of what is called particularly the people of the Injil, it's not gospel or whatever, a singular source, not gospels, is addressing those Israelites who were polarized at the time of the Masih, Isa ibn Maryam Rasulullah, into two camps. So the camp that remained as so-called Yahud and the camp that became Nasara. Both of them are Bani Israel. Wait, you have to go be a genius to recognize this from the Quran. So the Quran is not addressing you, number one, unless you happen to be an Israelite and not want to be Israelite. Brother, the points you made, please let me address. I'm not trying. You opened up the subject, remember? I'm just addressing the subject. So you have to give me a fair response, and then I'll give you a fair response too.
Sure,
we're not competing here, we're not fighting, trying to get clarity. So, not only does the Quran not acknowledge you as the people of the book, the Bible doesn't acknowledge you as the people of the book, and I could go into that. I don't want to go into it now. The second point regarding those references. So, the Quran definitely, as you put it, it does say that Allah revealed the Torah, and He also revealed the Injil. There's no dispute here. It also tells you what happened to these documents. If you actually want to track it through the Quran, it tells you at least 3 issues. I'm not talking about oral distortions and so on. I'm talking about textual distortions. So what we have is one document that was broken up into fragments. That same document, much of the information was lost. We'll come back to this additive. With regards to the so-called Injil, at the time, it was also they lost a large portion of it. And you could just track this, but I don't want to go into the whole thing. You could just look at Surah Al-Ma'idah, that's chapter 5. Verses around 13 to 16. If you just read them carefully, it tells you what happened to both scriptures, at least in one of the 3 types of distortions. The third type of distortion is that certain people claim, past tense, that certain things from Allah, but they wrote them with their own hands. Now, this is just, by the way, just the background, which I have already repeated twice. Now you opened up a new verse, interestingly, and you said, no one can change the words of Allah. Absolutely. Let's go and read those words. Let's read the verse directly. Do you want to cite it so that the audience can look at it, and then we'll actually look at how this fits into context? You want to read the verse?
It's chapter 18, verse 27, chapter 6, 114 to 115.
Okay, and which one do you want to read?
Ali Attai says that Allah is protecting the totality of His scripture.
Yeah, I know. Which verse do you want to read? That no one can change the words of Allah.
18, verse 27.
Okay, just give me a minute because my man is looking on the door. Just give me 1 second. 18 what? So for the audience?
18, hold on.
Okay, we can't hear you properly. Just could you please repeat it?
Yeah, it's Surah 6, 114 to 115, and Surah 18, 27.
We'll do one at a time. Which one do you want to do?
Either one. Do 1827. This is the one now.
Okay, so hold on, because I'm just doing some answers. If you can just give me 1 minute.
Yeah. No problem. If I can speak while you look it up real quick. But Maddie, you skipped over my problem, man. Is Allah is addressing people of the Scripture in the 7th century. We're holding a Torah and Gospel, the one that was known in the 7th century. What you guys are doing is appealing. What you guys are doing is appealing to a missing one no one's ever seen and saying the one that we're holding is not it. You know,
brother, let's deal with the text, and then I told you Allah is addressing in those particular elements of the verse is addressing Israelites. See, if you want to track this down, it could be easily tracked down. So if you look at, for example, just the Messiah Isa ibn Maryam, who is a messenger? Who is Rasul ibn Bani Israel? Very
It is by seniority, but it just depends.
Gotcha. Or you could be working with career people who are in their 30s and 40s who are working.
Beg pardon.
Go back to our day to day.
Yeah, you know? I've got a lot of atheist friends, an awful lot, a massive group of friends that just have no concept of God. They've got enough to do with their lives. They don't even give it a second thought. But I see them on the streets. I see them. You know, I've got a particular friend every Christmas morning, right? Because McDonald's in England is open up at 6 a.m. and they go and they get about 40 McDonald's breakfast, and then the people that are sleeping on the streets, they go and do it, and they go give them, and they spend the time to give it to people, and by January it's gone. So I don't think necessarily, I think it does work that for certain people who have a religious background, then they do see that, you know, that harmony with other people.
The point that I wanted to make was that, like, for a theist, how hard it is to you know, keep that focus on God, you know, and keep remembering that it's all for the good, that no matter what bad happens to you, it's all for the good, you know. So just that is difficult, you know, like you go through trials, you go through problems and things like that, and so how much more, like, you know, a non-theist, like an atheist.
Saying then that it's so that, are you saying then that it's probably a token, and it's a token that we're given, that for 1 day, 2 weeks, or whatever of the Christmas period, that we can give this token, and we can give back a little, and we can give back a little of empathy, whether it be religiously from its roots, or whether it be just because we've got empathy as an atheist. Do you think it's a token that we're giving then? I'm not saying that token is wrong, I'm just trying to get to the roots of it.
Yeah, that token, you could say, is like an archetype, maybe, or something, or some sort of, like, how do I put this? It's like, for the atheists, it'd be like, because in the West, you know, Christianity has been part and parcel of the West for as long as there's been colonialism and things like that, right? So there's a deep rooted and seated tradition of Christianity and this act of giving during the time of Christmas. So that culture has imbued itself in the fabric of the West, right? And so, like, when people stop believing in that, or have come out of that, or, you know, it's still
always
part of them.
Every year at Christmas, you always get the Hollywood biblical movies rerun, such as the Ten Commandments or The Robe. Yeah, it's always rerun. It's reinstilled into your mind to be more charitable to people. So yeah, I mean, I think it all plays a part. But that's why I love this.
Yeah, Maximo, maybe you understand Hebrew, or maybe you. When God says He made man on His own image, what does it mean as a what does it mean?
So from what I understand, there are two aspects. He made man in his image and his likeness. So it's not that God has arms or legs like a human being, because God ultimately is formless.
So
he has no form.
So when we say, I'll throw in, and then you can tell me if it fits the paradigm. When I say God made us in His own image, and I said He has put a portion of mercy in our hearts. He has put, when He's creating a man, He has put portion mercy in our heart. He has put motion of care in our heart. He has put motion of kindness. Attributes.
What are all the attributes of God? He has embedded them within us. So like you got the Allah is the All Merciful, right?
Yes.
Or all giving. You got this.
But
you got 99. You got 99 names or 99 attributes, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Can I ask a question? When you say image, you say image to me indicates that he, in some sense, is like us. In other words, because otherwise, where did the concept of 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 this, 2 that, 2 the other come from? Well, it can only, we are the image of that, because we can see ourselves in a mirror. So we can only look at otherwise. If we say God's image, why don't it make us have 3 arms, 3 legs, 3 eyes? Because then, actually, we'd actually be better, because we'd be far faster, we'd see more. There's also a whole host of things. So we can only liken an image based on the image that we see. So automatically, we intuitively think that God must be this way. And then, of course, we see the images of God, and the images of God that are drawn to of everything, don't they?
You know the problem I have from Maximo, you may know I'm from Salafi background. The image, usually when I have problem with the Ash'ari, Ash'ari and Salafi, we have a arm struggle between us, because they tell us we are giving God attributes of man. But I always tell them, look, it is the language which God communicates. When God communicates, language which we understand. You may say, my hand is stretching, but I stretch my hands toward the one who raises his hand toward me. In our mental images we have, as a human, we may think that. But to me, as a person who knows that God doesn't have a hand, I may not express it. I don't have an expression to express it, but I totally understand it. I've never in my life have put God into human anthropology. What do you call it?
Anthropomorphism.
It has never. Okay, I don't know, Maxima. If it has ever. You always think, when you think of God, you think far from it. You don't have an idea of. Am I wrong?
I think that God, in whatever fashion, is speaking in a way that we can understand what he's saying.
100%. I always wanted to. I don't know. Yeah, 100%.
Right, okay.
You could also say like maybe energetically, right? Like in a way, like representatively. It's a representation.
For example, Maximo, when God says, my anger was upon the people of Lot. My anger was upon. It's a human language. What do you mean? Anger means violence to you.
No, it could be disappointment. It could be disappointment as well.
Then you go. You see, you're continuing giving another attribute. But to me, I say he means anger. He means anger, but it's not the anger which I feel. My heart starts pumping, and I'm clouded with when you're angry, you're clouded. You may go into rage where you hit a wall, and you hit somebody who's not allowed to be hit. You throw the kids who are there. Maybe you have a fight with your wife, and then you throw the kids off. That's what I call anger. You start expressing your physical and mental, and you're clouded with you're clouded. You can't seem to get it.
So anger creates it either creates a physical action that you do something about, or it's a mental state that you have. That you do.
Yeah, you have both. You express. It's a mental thing, but you express it physically. Do you understand?
Physically, I could be angry at you, but I don't have to express it physically, do I?
Yeah, exactly. It's still, and so you have two aspects. You got physical and you got that emotional. But you see, we are using human language to communicate. Yeah, we are using human language to communicate. So, and God is above our intellect. Is above our. Even if I say a big light, it's a light. I'm already using human language, which is to express that there's a light. You understand? Because when we die, we say as a Muslim, we die, then we enter into certain we enter into the reality, the realm. They call it barzakh in Arabic. Barzakh is where you enter into different dimension. So that dimension is totally different now. And you see aspects of things which are happening.
Like another realm.
Yes. Where example, you always give an example to people. I say, do you see? We cannot see in bioluminescent colors. Or we cannot see in red. We cannot hear in like a bee. Or we cannot hear like a bat. Sorry, we cannot speak like an elephant. We cannot communicate like a dolphin, because we don't have that capability of doing things. This is a humanity one words I'm using. But here after we've got another level. There's colors which you cannot see. There's colors which you cannot see. There's sounds which you cannot hear. There is feelings which you cannot feel. Some people say that, I can see colors in music. Some people do that. Yeah. They see colors in music. But I'm wondering, how do they see colors in music? It's totally it's out of my grasp.
Frame of reference. It's outside of your frame of reference.
Yeah,
there's nothing you can compare it to.
There's nothing to compare to. So that's why I always.
You could try and compare it, but you would either sound like a madman, or you sound like you're talking gibberish or something.
Oh, Max hello, Kat. This is my friend Mindspeak. He's also a Vedanta.
Oh, hi Mindspeak, how you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you guys? Hey, Kat.
Like that.
Come on, you can do that yourself.
It depends on how heavy it is. Now the kids are older, they can do it. But if I'm on my own, I can't. I'll just.
I think go for it, dude. Because, dude, I also hear a lot that people have the Holy Spirit. Americans say it. What does it mean?
Well, that's the thing, man. We could talk about